So one of the beautiful things in the soil and with no tillage is that it changes the soil, and the clearest, best example of this is our buscular mycorrhiza. Now a buscular mycorrhiza is like a marriage. It's a fungi that attaches onto the roots. It's a symbiotic relationship. It grabs hold of the roots of corn. So they become friends, they have a marriage. Now what the corn does is it gives the fungi sugar, and the mycorrhiza extends the root system.
What gives the fungi sugar?
The corn plant, maize.
Yeah.
It gives sugar. It's, you know, every relationship is a cost, but there's a benefit, and the end result is a good one. You know, I've got 4 children out of mine. Beautiful children. So what happens is that the fungi attaches onto the roots of the corn, and instead of the corn roots growing this long or a bit longer, they can go all the way to way over to where the road is. They grow very fast, and they produce like glass tubes, tubes, and they're long skinny tubes. Now when you do tillage, you smash the glass. You copy?
Yes.
This is why you have to do no tillage, because you need your friends. You need to have a good marriage with the soil. This is only one example, but let me tell you a little bit more about this. These glass tubes, they grow this much one year, next year they grow this much, next year they grow, and after 3 or 4 years, you've now got a beautiful glass tubes going all the way through the soil. And then of course your crop dies, you harvest the crop, and then there's no more green, right? The glass tubes stay in the soil. And then next year when you plant your crop again, the fungi has a highway to drive down. These tubes are still there, so they go straight down. They don't have to build the tube again. The road is already built.
Hi everyone. Today is a special day. We are with someone. Hello.
Hello, Bill.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm Bill also.
You are Bill also. Bill, where are you from?
Australia.
Australia.
Western Australia, Perth, on the other side of Sydney.
The other side of Sydney.
Yeah.
And for us also the other side of the world.
Yeah. Well, we're both in the southern hemisphere, just.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're about 6 hours away. So, not 12, which is the other side of the world.
Bill, how are you feeling right now in Burundi?
I'm feeling great. Yeah, I'm loving being here. The people are very friendly. I've really enjoyed the hospitality. Some wonderful, very clever people here. I'm excited to be here.
What about the weather?
Yeah, the weather's good. The temperature is Australia is very cold in the winter. Not very cold, not like Europe, but it's like 5 degrees at night and 15 degrees in the day in the winter. And then because we're 32 degrees latitude, we're about 2 or 3 degrees latitude here. So that's about 3,000. That's a fair way south of here. And so in the summer it's very hot and dry. So it can be 44 degrees in the summer. That's why a lot of Australians like the beach. You know, they like to surf or they like to go swimming, because it can be very hot in the summer, but quite cool in the winter.
Bill? Who is Bill? Why are you here?
Yeah, well, I'm 60 years of age. I'm a farmer. I grew up on the farm. I went to university and I learnt about agricultural science. And then I came back to my local community, talked with my farmers, and I'm not a normal scientist. I'm a scientist who really wants to understand how the farmers think and their problems, and how, because it's all integrated. You know, sometimes you get a scientist who just goes off and learns about an insect, and that's all he learns. Whereas my background and experience is trying to integrate things and trying to make the whole thing as productive as possible. So I worked in the Department of Agriculture for 12 years. I was a research scientist for the first 3 years, and then I discovered something very wonderful. And then I thought, I need to tell people about this. So I changed from being a researcher. I've published 12 scientific papers, proper scientific papers. And then I became good friends with the farmers, and the farmers said, Bill, we want to employ you. So then I came out of the Department of Agriculture and was employed by the farmers across my whole state. And then we led a revolution in agriculture. It was very exciting. And that's why I'm here. I want to share this revolution with you. And you can take this, and you need to take this, because we stop soil erosion. And I've taken farmers all over the world many times, 15 times, 50 farmers with me, 20 farmers, sometimes up to 50. And we'd go and see a good farmer. We say, what are you doing in America? What are you doing in Canada? What are you doing in China? What are you doing in Europe? What are you doing in Brazil? What are you doing in Argentina? What are you doing in South Africa? So we went and took these farmers, and we all, when you start arguing nicely, it's a good thing. Share some of that knowledge.
You want to share some other knowledge with us.
Yeah.
But according to what you said, that you studied farming.
Yes.
That is what you studied in university.
Yes.
That is also what you do in your life.
Yeah, well, I was a scientist for the most part of my life. And then the last 13 years, when I was 47, I bought 3,000 hectares.
So there is two things.
Yeah.
You studied something.
Yeah.
Or you are practicing something.
Yeah.
Between those two, you do both of what?
Yeah.
Or you just only studied, and then now you are sharing what you know, or that is what you do in your life?
Well, I also got a master's degree, and I started to do a PhD just 3 years ago, but I'm 60, and I think I'm better off continuing to communicate rather than continuing to look at something very small.
So now let us go in the real life.
Yep.
You have farm for living.
As a young boy, I was a farmer. I sat on the tractor when I was 10, 12 years old.
In Australia?
In Australia. I ploughed the fields all through the night as a young boy. At 14, it was very cold. I had no cabin. We had lots of fumes from the tractor, and we didn't have any lights. Sometimes I had to use the moon to plough. So I ploughed 200-acre fields or 80-hectare fields as a young boy. Then I went to university, then I became a scientist, then I became a communicator, then I became friends. I played football with my friends while I was a scientist, you see. So I kept connected. And then and then 13 years ago, I didn't make any money because I was too busy teaching people. And my wife, she became a pastor, so she wasn't earning any money. So when we were helping at the church, and then I thought, well, I need a retirement plan. So I went and bought 3,000 hectares, and I farmed that for 13 years. And interestingly, it's very isolated. It's on the edge of the desert where there's no rainfall, very little rainfall, this much rainfall in 1 year. Here you get this much rainfall, 800 millimetres.
Yes.
I get 80 millimetres. And I was able to grow 7,000 tonnes of wheat. And 1 tonne is 1 metre by 1 metre by 1.2 metres. That's 1 tonne. I was able to grow 7,000 tonnes myself. And so I grew good crops. And I fixed the tyres, I fixed the engines, I fixed the starter motors, changed the batteries, changed the oil. So I learnt to become a practical person as well as a theoretical person.
Let me ask you something. Is farming can make people to develop their life?
Yes. Yes, but it has to be done smart.
It has to be done smart.
Smart. You can do it small, that's okay. And there's a beautiful group, if anyone's watching this, Foundations for Farming. Google that. They're from Zimbabwe, Harare. Beautiful people. They have hearts of gold. Beautiful people. They're lifting people on 1/16th of a hectare. Do you talk hectares or acres? Acres? Hectares. Which one?
Hectares.
Hectares, yeah. Okay, so 1/16th of a hectare, they can lift their production from 1 tonne per hectare to 8 tonnes per hectare. And there's a group here in Bujumbura, Donna and John. John's a local indigenous person, and Donna is a nurse from the UK, and they're partnering together. She's adopted him as a young boy, and he went to university, and now they're working together and doing beautiful work, Foundations for Farming. So I encourage people, do well with what you've got. You can do it bigger, and I think Africa generally probably needs to get communities together with a godly leader. And an agronomist like me, and a farm manager like me, and an accountant, a businessman, and then a community leader. Put all these people together, form a cooperative on your 100, 200 hectares, and then embrace all modern new technologies. Don't stick with the hoe. The hoe, you can use that on 16th of a hectare. That's good. Foundations for Farming do that. But once you go to 100, 200 hectares, that's not practical. We have to be smart. Farming is like making a cake. You've got 10 ingredients in a cake, and if you take 3 of these ingredients out, then it's very difficult to make a cake. You'll make a rock. Well, you might make soup. Depends on which ingredients you throw away. And you need to encourage your government to allow all the safe tools that the rest of the world is using. Right?
Let's just be there. You say that you have to do something smart.
Yes.
If you want to get something also, it has to be smart, right?
Yes.
More than 80% of people
Gain their employment
they are farming.
from farming, yes.
But still, the economy is down.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they're all being inefficient.
Sorry, come again.
They're not necessarily being efficient. Like they're damaging the soil. Right? The soil is magic. It's beautiful. In a teaspoon of soil, there's 10 million microorganisms and earthworms. Well, won't be one earthworm in one teaspoon, but in the soil there's earthworms, right? Now, when you plough the soil, you kill the earthworms. You chop them up. And then all the organic matter, you can see this lawn here is a beautiful green, but imagine this green was now brown. We killed it, but it was brown. We used a herbicide.
Yes.
Like a herbicide twice as safe as table salt, which I put on my eggs in the morning. You know, salt. It's got an LD50, this herbicide, glyphosate. It's got an LD50 of 5,600 milligrams per kilogram. In other words, if you're a rat that's 1 kilogram, it'll take 1 teaspoon has 5 grams in it, right? 5 grams. So if you use 1 teaspoon, you'll kill a rat that is 1 kilogram if he eats the salt 50% of the time. That's called LD50, lethal dose, 50% of the population's killed, right? Now the herbicide I'm talking about is a very safe herbicide, but some people demonise it. Now, this is a bit tricky. Europe is demonising this herbicide, glyphosate. It's a beautiful herbicide. It's a miracle molecule. And so if we were able to, and it's twice as safe as table salt using LD50s, lethal dose that kills 50%. In fact, table salt, the LD50 is 2,700 milligrams per kilogram, whereas glyphosate is twice that, so it's twice as safe. This brown lawn, when the rain comes, the water hits the organic matter, and the water gently goes into the soil, right? Now if you plough this soil to kill this green, then 2 weeks later you have to plough it again because more weeds have come up. Because when you plough, you bury the weed seeds, because the weed seeds are on the surface. When you plough, you bury them, so you're planting more weeds. So then 2 weeks later you have to plough it again to kill the weeds again. And then you've made the soil rough. So then you have to scarify it, also move the soil around. And you know how you make bricks? You get soil, you turn it over, you mix it all up, you put it out in the sun, and it bakes it hard. And then what have you got? Well, then you've got concrete. Then what happens when it rains? It depends on the texture of the soil, whether sand, silt, clay. But if you've got a fair bit of clay in there, the clay in the rain will come to the surface and it'll set like a smear. You know, when you do a building, you put a smear of concrete over it and finish it off beautifully, make it really hard. That's what you do with ploughing. It's called recreational tillage. You're damaging the soil, you're smashing the soil, you're killing the earthworms, you're oxidising all the bacteria. All the organic material's gone. There's no more green stuff left. But with no tillage, the green has become brown. And when it's brown, it grows a fungi on the roots. And do you know what earthworms eat? Fungi. So they increase their number. And you know what earthworms, like you and me, I don't know how many meals you have, but 2 or 3 meals a day, they like to come up and eat the organic matter on the surface and then go down. And you know what happens when they go up and they go down? They make a tube. And then when the big rain comes, the water goes down the tubes.
Because we don't use all ingredients in farming.
Yes, tools. You don't have the tools I have on my farm. You don't have them.
So that is the reason.
That's one of the reasons, yeah.
So which means we will never reach where you are.
You'll never get there unless you make some changes.
So the challenge is that because of maybe the government don't put in effort in farming.
Well, the government, it's difficult. I ran for Parliament myself. I ran as a politician in Australia.
In Australia.
Yeah, as a wheat belt, a person in the agricultural area. I didn't win, and I'm glad. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. But But politics is very tricky because you need to get votes. I met with your Minister for Agriculture. I really enjoyed meeting him.
Yeah.
Dr. Dioguide Rumaru or something like that. Lovely man, beautiful man, a man of faith and a genuine man. But he can't do everything he would like to do. He's an agronomist like me. An agronomist is soil, plants and people. That's what an agronomist is, the three things. You work together. He was a professor of agronomy. Now, he understands what I'm saying. Whether he agrees with all of what I say, I don't know. He's entitled to think differently. But I know there are tools you do not have that you need. And I don't know how to get that message to the Burundian people. But for example, BT, you have fall armyworm, Lepidoptera. It's a caterpillar that eats the corn, right? And once it eats the corn, then fungi come in and eat the rest of the corn, and then bacteria come in and that put a toxin in the corn, so the corn becomes toxic. Now you can kill this Lepidoptera by spraying it with chemicals, if you're allowed to have this chemical. Now, half of the chemicals in the world you don't have. You know, like when you're making a cake, you need all the ingredients. And if you only have half of them,
Mr. Bill, our time is rushing. The last message about the Burundian agriculture.
I think Burundian agriculture needs to come together in a community and say we want to all work together and change everybody working hard in the field. Adopt no tillage. I still think you can do no tillage with the tools you have. Maybe not as easy, but you can do it. And that makes the soil soft. It makes the soil more water efficient. And I think then you can lift your production from 1 tonne per hectare or 2 tonnes up to 6 or 7. I'd like to take you to 8 or 10 or 12 or 15, and I could do that with all the other tools, right? But you can get up to 6 or 7 or 8. And if you've got 1,000 hectares in one community and you do it with a boom spray to kill the weeds, not with people chipping away, because every time you chip away you kill earthworms, you kill all the microbes in the soil, and then you can make the soil soft and heal, and the soil become more productive. So adopt no tillage as a group, as a cooperative. Spend less time in the field, more time using your head. Work smart, not hard. And that's got to have appeal for old people. It's hard work working hard. And why not work smarter rather than harder? And then focus on storing grain, drying grain, mechanising harvesting grain, storing it, and then once you've stored it, then you can crush it for feed animals or for packaging to the shops and sell it as flour or sell it as a meal or sell it as something or make bread. So I think shift the effort, shift the muscle power from chipping out the weeds into technology. You know, you've got smartphones in Africa. Yeah, I got a smartphone. You know, you've got smartphones, you've got smart cars. You need smart farming, and it's not. I'm not being critical. It's just true. And it's hard work. Do it smarter rather than harder.
Thank you, Bill, for this discussion.
I've just opened something up, haven't I?
I know you had a lot of things to tell us, but because of also the time. But thank you for this time.
Bless you. Thank you very much.
Let's meet again for the next topic. Thank you.